Hello everybody, welcome back to another edition of Farming Blind with Duck. Here it is, I believe it is October the 21st. I know I've done a lot of videos here working on the farm, and actually I've been kind of slack this summer. Been so busy in our hay trying to get it up and the crazy weather. I've just not had much material to post up, anything rather new. So I want to take this opportunity now to do a fencing project. I know a lot of my videos talk about how, I guess you'd say, accomplished of certain things that I do here on the farm, and everything, as we might say here in Tennessee, kicks and giggles, and everything goes great. But sometimes that doesn't work that way here on the farm. A lot of times, being visually impaired, sometimes instead of a set of eyes, I need 2 or 3 sets of eyes to watch everything. After I get done in my hay fields, what I like to do is, since I lay off the fences cutting my hay, trying to stay away so I don't damage anything, I actually leave some pretty wide strips, 3 or 4 or 5 foot around the fence rows. Then I'll take my bush hog and go around and trim up to try to get everything tidied up the best I can, which I do spray my fence rows, but even at that, this year with the crazy weather and rain, I didn't get that done. So in an effort to tidy things up, that's what I wanted to do. Well, of course, doing that, I have to pay attention to so many different things at one time. Even though I do take my time and go really as slow as I can, a lot of times I go by feel. I can tell if my bush hog's kind of getting into the fence a little bit, or I'm getting too close or whatever. Unfortunately, you have those episodes that you just can't help. I know people that's well-sighted have one of those uh-oh moments here on the farm. Well, about a week ago, I was going around these fence rows trimming up, and I knew I had a fence post here that was loose, which this is not the same one. But when I come around with my bush hog, I didn't know this, but the fence post had fell over. Which, okay, that's fine and dandy, but what happened was when I come back a couple of days to fix that one post, I got to looking and my fence was completely gone, and I didn't know what I had done. So I basically done a process elimination and figured out that what happened was my bush hog, when I come around in that post, it was leaning over, the bush hog hung it and more or less grabbed the fence and ripped it out about 200 foot or 150, 200 foot down that way. So guess what? I get the opportunity to fix one of my screw-ups, and that's why, even as cautious as I try to be, there's just going to be those moments that you just embarrassed to talk about. But farm life, it just happens that way, and if it was easy, everybody be doing it, and you're going to have those episodes. It's just a you big dummy moment. So that's what I had. So I want to take this opportunity to do this video to show you my fence repair project. And the way I do things are probably quite a bit different than the way people do fencing nowadays. I'm a bit of old school, things that my grandfather taught me how to do, and I try to follow in his footsteps and do the things that he'd want done, even though nowadays I'm sure there's a lot easier and better ways. So to give you an idea, just one way we do it, on a common H brace or brace post for a fence, you do in the H formation. You do one here, and then you do a cross, and then you would put one beside it, which they call it a double brace, which that's fine and dandy, and that's the way a lot of people do it these days. Now, my grandfather, the way he did it was a standard H brace, meaning you do one here, then you put your middle brace across, but we utilize a knee. And what that is, this is exactly what it is. It's a knee that holds against the fence. There's a flat rock right there that uses as a stability that you set the post on, that way it won't go down in the ground. And that acts just like a brace. And now on a short run or something that just doesn't have to be really, really tight, but that's this fence here, I don't go through the process of building the whole H brace. Now, if I was putting up a new fence or a long stretch that I need to stay tight, I would do that. I would do the standard way. But for this, I do a quick and easy way. Now, how this works is sometimes I have a metal plate that can go right here to fasten up to this. What I did, I knew there's not going to be a whole lot of pressure, so actually I got some 4-inch wood screws and screwed in from this post into this post. This is just old leftover posts that I have laying around that I utilize because I try to pinch pennies when I can. And hey, it's my fence, so what do I care what it looks like? I can't see it that well. So another thing that we do, I lock it in there, and then right here at the bottom, I'm not sure if you can see, I've got brace wire that goes around the bottom of this post, goes around the bottom of the knee and loops back around. And that will hold this here from kicking out. It pulls it right in. And this is where your strength is here at the bottom. So what I do is I'll grab these wires here and I try to find something that I can use to twist with, which I'm using just a regular hitch pin because it's smooth. I'll twist And I just keep tightening it up as I go. Go a few more rounds here. So as you can see now that white wire has very little slack in it, and it will not let that post kick out. Now when I get about where I need it, boom, there it is. And what I'll come back in here, I'll run a piece of brace wire through here and loop it around here, and it kind of locks it together. So that's step one of this process. I already got the post concreted, got everything ready here. So then I'll start the process of getting my wire laid out. You'll stay tuned. For step two, I've already tied in my wire with the existing fence. I spliced it in about, back 150 foot or so that way, and I rolled it out. So in order to get ready to stretch my wire areas, and we've done this, I'm not sure if everybody does this in the country, but this is how I do it and how we've done it for years. You want to, a lot of times I can do this by myself, and which I don't mind. I kind of enjoy fencing. It gets you out here in nature and pretty day, good fall day. But to hold the fence up like you need it, what I do is I tie me a piece of small wire around the fence, and then I'll go around a post here. And I keep it at an angle like this right here, because naturally when I pull the fence, the whole fence is going to come this way. And if there's not a whole lot of slack, it'll come from here to here. So you basically got a 2 foot play to go between one side to the other. If the fence is really, really loose, I may have to walk back down here, readjust, and grab it again. But a lot of times in one single pull, and then it's getting enough tension on it that it'll kind of hold itself up. But this is just a preliminary way to hold it until I get it to where I need to be. Now what I'm fixing to do, I'm going to go down here and we're going to tie in my stretchers and get ready to start pulling this fence hopefully in a few minutes. So on to step three. Okay, what I've got here is a set of, I know you probably don't know it, but this is a set of stretchers. These stretchers, I would not hesitate to say they're at least 100 years old. They belong to my great-grandfather, which would be my grandfather's daddy-in-law, I guess you would say. And those went up for an auction. I can remember him telling me this many, many moons ago after my great-grandfather died, who passed away long before I was alive or was born. He said, and to put it in my grandfather's terms, come hell or high water, I'm going to have them stretchers. So he purchased them. And he was adamant about taking care of these things. Now again, after 100 years, of course, they're going to get some wear on them. I'm assuming these boards are just oak. So I've made some modifications myself. They used to have, of course, big flat washers, and then they had square nuts on it because that's all they had back in the day. And you would just use an open end wrench to tighten them up. I'm going to go through here and take all these nuts and washers off, and then we'll be ready to set it up here in just a moment. Okay, I'm going to take these off, and as you can see here, these homemade built things, you got a piece of steel right in the middle here that would use as a clamp, and then you got two pieces here. This all goes together and clamps together. For the life of me, I can't remember which was top or which was bottom, because he showed me when I was a kid, but I can't remember. Not that it matters a whole lot. And what I'll do is I'll take these here. I will simply bring it around the wire, and I like to set it in around the post where I can use that to hold. I'll put the wire in there, get everything set up. And also what I like to do, I might make sure I try to keep it in the middle of the mesh. I'm going to bring this around here. And again, being visually impaired sometimes has its complications. You have to kind of feel everything you do, which anybody that's visually impaired knows. Got it there. I got the washers and things in my pocket, so I'm going to go through here and I'm going to put these on. I'll get right back here in a minute and I'll show you my next step. All right, now I got my brace put on, or my stretchers lined up here and got everything ready to go. I'm going to take this chime here to go along and tighten everything up. Now, this is a little bit old school. Of course, back then they just used the standard old open end wrench because it had the square nuts. I use a crescent for right now, but I have learned to cheat. I just didn't go through the process today. A lot of times I can bring my cordless DeWalt Impact and zip these things right up tight quick. But for the sake of time and a little bit of way of doing old school things, I usually try to get in the middle here and just snug up, draw everything up pretty good. And what that does, that gives me more slack on these bolts here. And I can go hand tight on some of them. Of course, threads are messed up on a little bit of it too. Of course, like I said, being visually impaired can have its troubles. I have to go through and feel my way around and all that hooey, but you know, what do you do? Ooh. So I'm gonna go down through here after I get them all good and snug, tightened up good, and then I'll be ready to hook everything up and start stretching here momentarily. And again, I'll kind of give you a little bit of how things, paint a picture how it was done back in the day, but then I'll show you how we do it nowadays. So let me get all this tightened up and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, our next step is getting ready to stretch. I've got the way we do it nowadays. Of course, I mean, everybody does things differently, and I don't think there's a wrong way or a right way. It's just whatever you're used to and how you used to it. Now, the old school way of doing things with these particular stretchers here, and I've got the set, but it's just so much of a process to set everything up. It's a big chain, and it's got a great big hook on it that actually hooks around those stretchers. And it would stretch around there, and then it would come, and in the middle of it, it's got what I call a dogging system. It latches backwards and forward. And the way they used to do it is they would come out here and they would set another post in the ground, and they would tie off to that post, so it'd have one end of the chain there and the other end of the chain to the stretchers. Then on that assembly, it's like a big hole, big pipe, should I say, or a cuff. And they actually got, well, I always called it about the size of a tree. It was a pole that had a point on it about the size of a pencil sharpened, and it would go into that slot, and they would literally take it walking around, and it'd be a two-person system. Person walking around, they'd lock the chain in with a hook, and then they would pull it. And once they get it to this position, they would lock in on this chain and would release this side. They'd walk it back around, grab it again, and that's how they would stretch the fence back in the day. Now, later on, what we started doing was we'd have one of our old tractors out there. Rather than setting a post in the ground, we would tie off to the tractor and to do the same scenario. Well, again, that's a 2, maybe even a 3-person deal, and I've only seen it used a very few times. So with everything else, time adjustment, I mean, time goes by and everybody changes their ways. So if you can see here, the way I do it is I've got 2 sets of chains. I got 2 sets of chains here. I've got top pull and bottom pull. And this is the way I do it. That's not saying it's wrong, and I'm not saying it's right. And I'm no fence professional whatsoever. This is how I do it and how it works for me. And what I do is I've got it hooked to the bottom part of my loader here, and I've got this chain a certain tension. And then this next chain on top, I've got a certain tension. But I've also got a set of come-along stretchers here. And what I'll do is I'll take the tractor, and again, I have to on and off a few times to just check everything, but I can kind of know. And once I get it to a position that I want, obviously the bottom is going to be tighter than the top. So to bring it up even, that's when I bring my come-along into the process to get everything evened up. So I'm going to back up here, and I'm going to hop on, and I'm going to pull my fence and just see how everything does. So you'll get a little sample of that, and then I'll show you how I do everything adjusted. Okay, I'm going to just start easing slowly back. And I can tell, and I can get the kind of the feel. All right, I can feel tension on it, so I'm going to stop right here. Okay, I've got everything tightened up. The fence, believe it or not, I actually hit it pretty lucky on my hookups. As you can see here, my stretcher is pretty much straight up and down, which that gives me an indicator that the fence is very, very well even. So I'll just walk down through here, double check the tension. Again, I don't want it real tight. One thing is during the winter, a fence is going to be tighter than the summer. Of course, we're kind of in between season, meaning when the wire heats up, it's going to loosen up. During the winter, it gets colder, it'll draw up. But that's kind of how I tell by the tension. I've got a little bit of slack there. I don't want it just super, super tight, but I don't want it really, really loose either. As you can see down through here, I've got everything just about right. I'll come down through here, just double checking everything. See, I'm off the fence there. And where I tied everything up, there's my pull that I've done with the wire that I showed you. it worked almost just about right. It did pull on my metal post just a little, but I'll just unravel it here. Or I said I would. There it went. Loosened it up. Post went back. I'll just stand it up. And then I'll go along there and stand everything and tie it up. So there we go. I guess we've got it about right. I'll double check everything. Then I'll start steepling everything. So I'll show you that step here in just a minute. Okay, some may ask, and some may not care, why did I put the tractor on that side of the fence instead of this side of the fence where it's straight on? Well, first off, you got to get super close to the fence for it to pull straight. The reason I put it on that side, that way when I pull around, it's actually pulling the fence close to the post. That way I don't have to fight it to get it over to one side or the other. Then also the tractor's out of my way. And what I'll do, I'll go along here and I'll just start the process of steepling the fence. Of course, you see your what they call the stay. I'm gonna Now, how can I do that, you may think, which I've done some videos with it. I usually listen. I mean, I've done enough, and if you hit your thumb enough times, like I said, you'll learn pretty quick. So I can hear the sound of it and tell if I'm going pretty much solid right in there. What I'll do is like I said, I'll probably put at least 2 rounds. I try to go around the post just a little bit, that way it'll kind of pull it up just that much tighter. Of course, that'll take me just a few minutes. I did also want to show you, of course, I'm showing you a lot of old school stuff. Let me give you a little bit of the modern technology and how I do things too. Open level.
Speech on. Add. Dim. Tab bar. Level. Tab. 2 of 2. Selected. Level. Tab. 2 of 2.
If you see.
Level. -6 degrees. -1 degrees.
This is how I use a level on my phone, just to have I mean, it's just a fence, so we don't have to be perfect. So we're pretty close right there.
5 degrees. 29 degrees. 47 degrees.
Get on this side here.
-1 degrees.
It's pretty much spot on right there by the phone. I don't know how accurate it is, but it's a whole lot accurate than me trying to look at it anyway and eyeball it. So I can use, it has got a variety of different ways.
-13 degrees. -12 degrees.
So it's got all kinds of levels. Anyway, I just wanted to show you that I still incorporate a lot of assistive technology, new and old, to do things. So I'm going to get this here sewed up, and I may show you a step or two later as we get along here, but I want to get this main part done. That way I can get the tractor released and then get everything kind of sewed up. So stay tuned for a final update at the end. Okay, I have finally got everything stapled up here to post. I released my pressure. So what I'll do, I'll unbolt everything, take it loose. I'll cut my fence here. I'll wrap it around my post and tie it into the existing fence post here, or existing fence. And I'll go down and take my wires and clips and go around my metal fence post. I probably got 10 of those to do. A few metal, or should I say a few wood posts. I got to finish steepling that up. But other than that, hopefully we got this project wrapped up. Yeah, hopefully no more screw ups. I can't afford to do this many times. This little mess up cost me about $300 or so. And about 3 days of work. But you know, what don't kill you only makes you stronger, I guess. So anyway, I know this was kind of long, and I hope you got a little something out of it, just to see kind of how the process happens here, and just a different take of how I do things there on the farm using real old technology, middle of the road technology, and a little bit of high-tech technology. So you got a little taste of all of it. If you got any questions, drop me a line. I'm an open book. I'll tell you what I know. I tell people I don't know a whole lot about anything, but I know a little bit about something. So again, if you got any questions, be able to do the things I do. I have to thank my Tennessee Agribility Program, UT Extension, the Vocational Rehab Services, the Star Center, and just all those that help support me and do things. And not to mention my awesome cameraman, Mighty Mike. Michael Lamb's always here to help me out doing the videoing, so thankful to him. So you guys keep in touch, and hopefully see you again soon. God bless.